most of the things, and we know it's kind of emotional, etc. So I would just say good discussion from the chat and the panel. Let's move on to Shoot the Breeze topic number 2, though. Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 says, and this prompt was longer, but it won't display if I show the whole thing, so I'm going to have to read off the second part. It says, Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 says, every society is based on 3 pillars: culture, politics, and economics. The second part of this prompt says, did you know the UNIA sponsors a football, soccer club in NYC, hosts community-focused radio show, and founded the Federation of African, Caribbean, and American Restaurant Owners Corps? So that's the full prompt. So that'll make you understand what you're seeing in this attachment for this prompt. Let me see if you guys can see my screen. Absolutely. So what we'll do is we'll watch this. Let's see if I can get this right. We'll watch this, and then we'll discuss.
For articulating that. And now just moving to today, and you mentioned it. Now, you've started. First of all, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. What has been the response to the movement, UNIA today? And what are some of the projects of which you've mentioned, and so people can understand what you're doing, that you're actually doing some concrete things in the spirit of the great Marcus Messiah Garvey? Who would like to?
Okay. Every system, every society is based on 3 pillars: culture, economics, and politics. You need culture because it's the way you express yourself. It's how you connect with everyone. You need politics because the politics plays the important role of distributing the funds and controlling what goes on in a community. However, those 2 cannot exist without the economics. And this is the big message that Mr. Garvey brought. He said, economics must rule the day. Now, when he says economics, he's not talking about 1 or 2 entrepreneurs making money, doing for themselves well. He's talking about self-reliance, where all of us gain and put a foothold there. So now, to respond to your question, what has been the response? Well, let me say this. What has the UNIA been doing recently? The UNIA operates a soccer program, believe it or not, the Rosedale Soccer Club. The UNIA is on the radio with the community-focused radio show, and that is strictly economics because we use the proceeds from the restaurants that we are engaged in. But the biggest thing that the UNIA is involved in is what we call the Federation of African, Caribbean, and American Restaurant Owners Corp. We initiated that in March of 2016 at the Schomburg. And I know, Sister Louise, you were an attendee, and I know you were I know you brought your teenage son, because I met him that day, and I thank you very much for bringing him to. We launched it where we said, guess what? What would Mr. Garvey do now? A lot of times we beg, we protest, we denounce. And that's not to say it's not important. But we still need to control and develop the economies. Everybody, let's take, for example, New York City. Every community that is strong in New York City is because they control the economies of their communities. In our communities, as the President General rightly asked, where are the supermarkets? Where are the financial institutions? Every other communities, they control their business. In our communities, we actually do not. Other people control the businesses. That's how we're going to rebuild our nation. When we say our nation, our community, by controlling the economics. Now, how do you do that? Pool your resources. How was Mr. Garvey able to get all of these monies to buy not 1, not 2, not 3 ships, and then build all of these businesses? Believe it or not, Sister Louise, we have the money. We have it as black people in these United States. We just don't know it. We're poorly organized. So we pull our resources. We establish what we call the ROC, the Restaurant Owners Corp, where what we said to ourselves is all of these restaurants, and there are a lot of black restaurants in New York City, they spend between $8,000 and $20,000 per week on dry goods, meats, fish, produce, and vegetables. Two questions you've got to ask yourself. Number one, where are they getting this money from? Where? Only from the people, us. We support and patronize these restaurants. So if they're in business, they're funding it, and they must get that money from us. So the second question is, gee, if we're spending all that type of money, $8,000 to $20,000, let's assume $10,000 per week, let's assume 100 restaurants, and let's assume 52 weeks. That's $52 million. It's being spent, so we have it. So why don't we pull these resources, control ourselves, eliminate the middleman, and create wealth for our benefit, create employment. This way we increase the capacity of our community. That's exactly what we've done. President General?
To answer your question, people response. Were you at the Schomburg?
Oh, yes, I was.
When I asked for investors to come on stage to invest their money, not forcing them, what you thought of that?
Well, it was a beautiful event. I mean, I remember it was, first of all, the house was packed. I mean, it was standing room only. People from all over the community came. You asked people to come to the stage, and certainly you asked for 1 month. But I mean, people came in droves. It was like everyone knew it was like a stand. It wasn't just, they weren't making a commitment for themselves. It was like they were making this commitment for their families, for their children. So just the energy in the room, and that was just tremendous. And then, as you said, I had the opportunity to go and to actually go to visit FACA, the headquarters, and just to see what you took from that afternoon till now to have this warehouse filled with this, that employs people within the community, that provides various businesses with, as well as individuals, with food and produce that they could, get right in the community. It definitely is an example of what Garvey's, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey's vision is. So I just wanted to.
President General, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Did we create anything new?
No. All we did is to follow the black prints that were laid out specifically for us. And since that evening, that's the type of responses we have been getting. Whether it's in Atlanta, whether it's in Chicago, Kingston, or Liberia, in Haiti, that's the type of responses we have been getting, because our people are looking for a better tomorrow. And we are presenting that to them, where they can be a part of a better tomorrow. Not just for me, but for all of us. And that's what we are bringing. And our people are feeling it. They have been looking for this for the longest time. And it's amazing. Some people had said when we started, if you get X amount of black people to invest $50,000 together, you'd be lucky. Sister, we have done that over and over and over. So that's the type of responses we have been getting. Thank you.
Wow. Well, I was going to say we're going to actually hold it. We're going to revisit this again in part 2. But I just want you to give a phone number. If anyone who's interested in finding out more information on this part, can you please share a number?
Sure. If anyone would like to get together with us to discuss UNIA, you can reach me at 718-570-7350. Again, 718-570-7350. And The Rock, the Restaurant Owners Corp., it's located at 13205 Merrick Boulevard. However, it's inside of Belknap Street. Again, 13205 Merrick Boulevard, inside of Belknap Street, Jamaica, New York, 11434. Again, the phone number, please call me 24/7, 718-570-7350.
All right.
Yeah, good stuff there. Good stuff there. How many of you in the chat were familiar with the Community Focus Radio Show and this, sponsoring of a soccer team or soccer club in New York, etc.? I'll be curious to see how many of you are familiar, and how many of you have listened to the community focused radio show? I gotta check this. I gotta contact these fellas. I like what they're doing here. With that said, let me introduce our latest panelist. That'll be Jackadero. Jackadero, how are you this week?
I'm well. I'm well. You can hear me.
Yes, sir. Can hear you loud and clear.
I'm well. I'm well. Peace and blessings, everybody.
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming through. Jackadero, let me start with Anthony first. Anthony, what are your thoughts on should be topic number 2? Every society is based on 3 pillars: culture, politics, and economics. And the additional part, of did you know the UNIA-ACL sponsors a football or soccer club in NYC, hosts community-focused radio show, and founded the Federation of African, Caribbean, and American Restaurant Owners Corp. What say you to all of it, Anthony?
Yeah. Okay. I had heard a little bit about it because their sister. I follow their sister. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think her name is Louise Dante. If I'm not mistaken, that sister who was talking, the dark skinned sister, the sister who was talking.
Okay.
I think her name is Louise Dante. I know she's based out of New York, and she has a show that's on YouTube called Cultural Caravan. Well, anyway, because I've been following
Well,
her
again, on that,
for a few years. And yeah, I kind of heard something about that. I had heard about that about the economic thing that they thing that they had together with all of the business owners. And I think I had heard somebody was talking about the sports teams, man. Man, I think I was it was this another sister I know was on Omawale Africa show. You know, Omawale was a UNIA member, and she was talking about some of the things that they were doing now. So I kind of heard a little bit about it. Yeah, but yeah, I agree with those principles, man. 100%, man. I mean, this is what I think about it, man. You know, Marcus Garvey was so far ahead of his time, man. That brother was brilliant, man. He was brilliant. I mean, you know, just everything. I mean, how he laid out his organization, him and his wife and the other people who helped him build the organization. But you know, remember before he founded the organization, man, he went all around the African world, man. You know, around the black world in the Americas, man. He went to South America, Central America, all over the Caribbean. You know what I'm saying? And he was just taking in everything that he had to take in. You know, so he could create solutions. No, to our problems as African people, man. And and I mean, look, even to this day, right now, there hasn't been an organization like his. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, just all of the things that he did, man. You know, I have so much respect for the Honorable Marcus Garvey, man. And like, you know, hey, look, you know what I'm saying? What I'm saying? No, this is my Bible right here, man. But yeah, man, I definitely agree with all of that though, man. No, I knock off right there. You can mute me, Coco.
Yeah, appreciate that, Anthony. Yeah, this that triangle right there of culture, politics, and economics, very important. We talk about culture a lot, but I feel, we talk about culture a lot as a community, I think, or as a conscious community. I don't know if we often meld the other 2 points of that triangle very well. So I think it's something that we should be better at, connecting those 3 dots. And by the way, it is Cultural Caravan Presents, so I think Anthony was correct about that. I gotta look into it a bit more because I'm in NYC and I wasn't aware of the community radio show, etc. So I'll check all that out. With that said, Jacadero, what are your thoughts on every society is based on 3 pillars: culture, politics, and economics?
Yeah, absolutely. What the two men were saying is exactly what nationhood is about. Without those things, you just pretty much just have groups that meet together. And one thing I didn't know that there was a soccer club that was funded by them in New York. So next time I go to New York, I'll have to check that out. I don't have much to add. Props to the UNIA.
Appreciate that, Jacadero. In the chat, hold on. In the chat, Cheryl says, did not know. She goes on to say, sounds amazing. Self-reliance is the only way. Absolutely. Trigabi 262 Plus says, UNIA controlling the business class is crucial to why it had the greatest global scope. All it just needed was to capture a state or to start the capture of all of Africa. I agree with that, Trigger. Very good comment. Buana, you've heard everything else everyone had to say. What say you to all of it?
When I was watching this, I was just thinking of Brother Bakari because he is the person who he's pushing that black business principle to a lot of people. So he would have loved seeing something like this. I don't know if he having an opportunity to see this because this is something that he would really catch on to and really love. But like I say, if I was in New York City, I would probably reach out to these people. I did not know. It's interesting that even though the UNIA lost their charismatic leaders or leadership, the organization, in terms of what these people are currently doing, is still moving on the ground, moving. And it just shows sometimes that a charismatic leader is good to bring people in, but to get people to actually work is another kind of thing that you need to achieve because these people are on the ground moving and making things happen in terms of the economics within their own respective communities, and they branching out into different other places as well, all the while not necessarily having a charismatic leader. So it goes to show that yes, charismatic leaders are good, but people coming in to actually do the work and get the work done is very, very important, especially in pushing in terms of culture, politics, and economics, getting the work done. And usually these kinds of things are not, the people don't necessarily see these people. They're not up front and center. These are faces you don't usually see, but these are the people who are actually getting the work done. But I need to visit their website, even call their number and see. I'm gonna call them probably sometime next week. But I wish they had a website. But I'll call them, to speak to whoever, because it's a good initiative to have, and to see if you could this initiative could be carried over into places like this part of the world as well. But we have a chambers of commerce, but that is a little bit different. But I see what they kind of trying to push here, and I think it's an important feature in moving the whole idea of Gaviism forward and Pan Africanism forward. I think that they're doing a great thing, man. Absolutely great, brilliant. But that's really it for me right there.
I have a follow up question, kind of broad, but first let me read these comments. Cheryl says, politically, we need a protective agent to stop infiltrators from stifling that progress. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, now black spending power and black businesses have no political school or political shape to funnel the money and profits to build greater political projects. It's just about enriching individuals. My broad question to all of you, and Anthony, I'm going to unmute your mic in anticipation of your response. My broad question to you guys is, if you had to speak to it, what do you think is or ought to be African people across the globe? What should our politics be? I know it's easy to say Pan-Africanism, but if we had to break it down, what should some of the elements of our politics look like? Anyone can answer. You guys have the floor.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll go first if anybody else wants to.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Like you said, when we say Pan Africanism, because a lot of people have different interpretations of what Pan Africanism is. You know what I'm saying? And I dig that. But I go back to what the Honorable Marcus Garvey said. What no his idea. Honorable Marcus Garvey, he didn't talk about Pan Africanism. I think that was a label that was put on him, to describe what he was doing. But I think his thing was more, he was talking about black unity. You know what I'm saying? And he was talking about us rallying around what unites us, and what unites us is our race. You know what I'm saying? And and we have, you had to put in context the conditions we was in. We talk about most of the black world was under colonial rule at that time. Well, most of the black world now is under neo-colonial rule. We have external forces who are destabilizing our countries, like we got in the Congo and other parts of the black world, in Haiti. You know what I'm saying? We basically are under attack, and we got to realize that we are under attack. We can't buy into certain things like this classism and all. That plays a role in things. But I'm saying we have to say with our full chest that we race first, that we black first, and that we gonna take care of our people first. We gonna look out for our people's interests first. Okay, and after that, we could work with we could work with other people if we want if that's what we want to do. But we have to look at it: black man, the black man; black woman, the black woman; black man, the black woman. We have to look at it and say, you know what? In this whole world, we got to look at it like, hey, everybody got their foot on our neck, and the ones who don't have their foot on our neck, they'll put it on our neck. You know what I'm saying? They'll put it on our neck to get what we got. You know what I'm saying? We have ownership of the richest piece of real estate in the world, man, the continent of Africa. You know what I'm saying? And not only just the continent of Africa, but our black minds everywhere. Hell, whether you from Jamaica, Haiti, the Bahamas, from Afro America, or from wherever black people at. Everybody else use our people, our brain power. Look, all the Nigerian doctors, or Haitian doctors and scientists, and everywhere. We go everywhere to help them build their shit instead of building our shit. Well, let's build our shit first. Let's build our shit first. Let's get our thing together. And then if we could work with other people to help the larger world community, whatever, that's cool. But we got to start saying it with our full chest that I'm for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna help Black Louisiana out first. I'm gonna help Black America out. And I'm gonna go over to my brothers in the Bahamas and see what they need some help. And to my brothers in Haiti, and everywhere in the African continent, and everywhere we at. I'm gonna go take my skills over there to help build over there. They bring their skills over here to help us over here. I think we gotta prioritize this. We gotta get out of this thing where we think, if we say black first, race first, everybody gonna look at us and there they go with that racist shit. Man, the hell with that. The hell with that. They do the same damn thing. They do the same thing. What Elon Musk, he from South Africa, he a colonizer from South Africa. What he did, he came over here and told Trump, hey man, them Negroes over there doing some foul shit. They trying to take the land back from us white folks. Hey, you our big brother, our big white brother over here. Come over here and help us. Well, we got to do the same damn shit. We got to help each other. You know what I'm saying? We got to do what we got to do to help each other. That's where I look at. Don't worry about, okay, they're gonna call me. I don't give a damn what nobody call me. I'm a racist. If you think I'm a racist, okay, that's cool. But I'm gonna be a racist who love my people and look out for my people. I am a plane right there, folks.
Appreciate that, Anthony. Buana Jacadero, go ahead.
Well, I'll go since Shakadero is thinking about it. I reiterate the words of Anthony. Race first is an important politic, and with the analogy he used the analogy of Elon Musk. The leader of the so-called free world is basically letting you know it's race first. It's race first. It's race first, and really and truly race alone. That's his perspective. I don't take it to that level because I understand that we live in a global world and we'll have to do business with other people. But he says race first. It don't mean for all the humanists out there, no more white dad, no more Chinese, no more Mexicans. He just said you come first before everyone else. And if everyone else is practicing that politics, you should be too. Now, when I say that, this man used the term, we say culture, politics, and economics. For the American black man is brought up under a capitalist system. So his economics will be different from other black people's economics. Like the black man from Cuba. The black man from Cuba say, well, my politics is communism or socialism. And then somebody from the violence say, well, maybe my economics and how we want to take out our economics is between economic socialism and capitalism. And so now we'll be in a fight. But if we say, get collectively, you know what, bump all that, raise first. The politics aside, the economics aside, raise first. Raise first. You may be an American from America. I may be a Cuban, a black Cuban from Cuba. But when you come to Cuba, come to my restaurant before you go to the white before you go to the white Cuban restaurant. Come to my restaurant first. Before you stay at a white bed and breakfast, you come to find where I stay and stay at a black bed and breakfast first. This is the kind of politics, and the same thing go, in the opposite way. If I come to the Americas, before I go to McDonald's, I go into, BB King's home chicken shack grill. Yeah, I go into his place before I go anywhere else first. So we'll be able to stave off the differences that we have in our economics. It's the same thing with politics and culture down the line. If you got to find a church, the Christians, if you got to find a church in the Americas and you're from America, you find your black church first before you go to Billy Graham church. Go find TD church before you go there. So it should spill into all other aspects of how you practice your humanness in this world. And if someone comes to question you and say, well, we are all human beings, just remind them, yes, we are human beings, but we are in a competition with one another. So if we in a competition with one another, someone has to win that competition. And I would rather it be me, because all the examples historically before me says that if it's not me, the people who gonna win the race, they're gonna oppress people who look like me and call me a monkey and then put me in a human zoo. So I must win this race first. We can practice humanism afterwards, but I must win this race since we're in a competition together with one another. So I think that it is an important feature to say race first. And that for me, I understand why he says that, but that's my opinions about it.
Wanna real quick, Trigabi 262 plus in the chat says the black man from Cuba may not even identify as black because of Cuba's emphasis on being a non-racialist country. You have any thoughts on that?
Here's the issue with that. I've been to Cuba and I have seen the culture of Cuba is the black man is still doing the laborious jobs at the bottom, behind the scenes, the housemaids, the servants, even with the so-called equality of communism and Cuba and socialism. It's interesting that with all these ideas of equality, they are still positioned at the bottom, at the bottom of the bottom. So that is a game that people would like to play, but the black Cubans recognize it. When I stayed there, the black Cubans, the house where I stayed at, they looked at me like I was a fascination. It's like, how could you afford to be such a young person and have a vacation and stay up in this wealthy guy's place and relax? You know what I mean? And live up in his house and be able to do the things that I was doing where they could not do it. So that is people say that, the politics of a country may say that, just as they do with African Americans. You would see the African Americans balling, and you would think if you don't live in that country that all African Americans are millionaires. And it's only until you get there you realize and say, oh, this is an image that countries put out in the world to make people believe what it is when it's really not like that. So I think that I would say go investigate for yourself to see whether what I'm telling you is true or not true. That's what I say. Investigate for yourself. But I'll leave it there, Koku.
Appreciate that. Buana Jacadero, you have any thoughts?
No, I don't. These two brothers on the panel, they hit it right on the money.
Appreciate that, Jacadero. In the chat, Cheryl says her response to my follow-up question is only marry black African, only reproduce black African, only practice African spiritual systems, no Islam, no Christianity, no Judaism. This is what we should strive for. The matron says we should start with only buying from black manufacturers, We should require that businesses invest in the Black community. We should invest in co-ownership so that our money circulates. I like these responses from everyone. Brother Bakari is out there. BBN, Black Business Network. Make sure you guys subscribe. He had a live earlier today. He said the three pillars would be family, economics, and military. So Bakari has a different three pillars than what was discussed in this prompt here. Jose says they position themselves there by a worldview. Happens everywhere in mixed societies. I agree with that too. Everywhere you go in a mixed society, the Black man is at the bottom, and that's something we should be concerned with. Jose says that's what makes sense the most. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, to be fair, Cuba is dealing with sanctions, but I'm referring to Castro's policy to emphasize non-race, or that, quote, we are all Cubans, but I'm sure many don't agree with that too. Good discussion, everyone. Cheryl points out military is a part of political. Just to remind everyone that this prompt was discussing the three pillars as being culture, politics, and economics. And you know what's the funny thing is, military and family can actually be a part of all three. I think Anthony wanted to add something here. Let me get Anthony's thoughts real quick. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, cool. I was just agreeing with what you said, what you were just saying, and what the sister Cheryl was saying. Military that falls under political because, like, even what Kwame Ture said, everything is political. You know what I'm saying? Everything's political. And I just wanted to just real quick, and I'm gonna knock off, say that when Buono was talking about Cuba, of course I've never been to Cuba, but I have a lot of Cuban friends. But like you saying about the economic system or whatever, how the Cuban might we might be under a capitalist system here, and the Cuban black man might talk about communism. You know what I'm saying is here. The economic system that was imposed on it. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Castro and Che Guevara and their group, they said we're gonna do this here, we're gonna do it this way. But like I'm saying, from everything that I read, everything that I've listened about, man, Cuba's a very racist society, man. I mean, you talk about institutional racism down to the bone, man. I'll leave it right there, Coco.
I appreciate that, Anthony. I will provide triggers out there. And she says, and family is culture. Yeah, family. Let me tell you something. Military is culture. Look at these white folks. Military is a part of their culture. You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree with Bakari, but I think it is a part of these three tenets that was produced here: culture, that's family and military, politics, and something Anthony just said. I remember when I first heard, this was many years ago now, many years ago. I first heard Kwame Ture says everything is political. That struck me when I heard as a young guy, early 20s, and that struck me a lot. It changed how I viewed the world too. You see, like a lot of people will look at religion and say, "Oh, religion is just my belief." No, even what you believe in is political, right? And the idea of reverting back to African spirituality is a political move, and we have to be about those politics, I feel. Is there any last thoughts on this prompt before I move on? Okay. So this is I'm going to go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 3, I guess. And this is a long prompt. Again, guys, if you're going to you're gonna post prompts, please cut them down to like 2 sentences, because this program doesn't allow for long paragraphs to be posted. But I guess while I'm trying to figure this out, a couple people commented, so let me try to catch those comments. Trigger says all religions are pan states, to add to that. Cheryl says everything is political down to your choice in spouse. Absolutely. When I first heard Kwame Ture said that, it made me think of all those things. Like everything you do is a political choice. And I think that's what we have to really start emphasizing to our people, that, you know, when you become a bunny chaser or whatever they call it, a swirler and all this kind of stuff, that's bad African politics. You know, that's bad African politics. We got to tighten up on that. Brother Bakari, BBN Black Business Network, says military is never discussed by our people unless we're discussing white military. I agree, and that's a shortcoming on our part too. Which is why, I like Shoot the Breeze, and I like some of these topics that we discuss. It allows us to kind of open up our minds and expand the conversations a little bit. We got to remind our folks that everything is political. And military is a part of that. And if we ain't on military, we ain't on nothing. We ain't on protecting ourselves, we ain't on nothing. You know? Provide Triggers says, my dad often said, the personal is political and vice versa. Absolutely. She said something else. She said she agrees with Buana. Traveled to Cuba 2 times, and Black Cubans are